Welcome back to the Why Mindset Matters podcast. I'm Eslana Loa. I'm an author, speaker, resilience mindset coach. I'm a nurse, a midwife, and a mother of four. And if this is somehow the first episode of mine that you've found, I do want to start by providing a trigger warning. I do discuss the loss of my teenage daughter, Riley, to suicide. So in this season 1 finale of Why Mindset Matters, I want to discuss the power of the words that we speak, not only to ourselves, but to the people around us. Because for the longest time, it would feel, I've let negative self-talk and old narratives keep me small, I guess. But I've come to realize that by choosing to rewrite those stories, I've become what I would call a manifesting magnet. And I've been drawing these incredibly authentic connections into my life that continue to stretch me, challenge me, and help me grow as an individual, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, just on every level. And I'm so loving my life as a result of it. But I want to share how genuine compliments and speaking life into others creates this ripple effect that shifts not only their world, but ours too. And as I step into the next 2 weeks of rest, reset, and transformation and head away to Bali with my daughters, I know that I'm preparing to walk into the unknown, the next chapter of my life and everything that it has to offer, which is exciting. And that will include my book, Resilience After Great Loss, Learning to Live and Grieve Simultaneously, which will be on its way in the coming months. And this season finale is a celebration of growth and gratitude and the courage to believe that speaking life can change everything. And I have very much enjoyed the birth of this podcast and bringing it to fruition and everything that it has provided me on this journey, but also just being able to share my journey in a way that is actually coming back to me, seeing the ways that then benefits other people is so rewarding. So I'm very grateful to have you here. To start, I wanted to talk in this episode about our self-critic, that negative self-talk that can get us really bogged down. And I know I've touched on it in previous episodes, but I didn't feel like I had a very negative or, inner critic before losing Riley. I didn't think that was something that I necessarily struggled with. I think if we think we don't have it at all, we probably just haven't done a deep dive enough to see that it just hides in the dark corners and takes on this mask that we don't really realize that that's what it is. So it's probably that there was in ways that I wasn't self-aware enough. But fast forward to witnessing Riley's death and the loss and grief and trauma that came with it, I had this newfound anxiety that included an inner critic that was just negative self-talk. It was so easy to flip to. And I had kind of struggled with that because anxiety wasn't something that I had suffered before her death. And as much as it's easy to understand and empathize with why that would be present in the aftermath of unimaginable trauma like what I experienced, it wasn't something that I wanted to be like, okay, so this came in the show bag with PTSD and all of the shit that I now have to carry into my future and my life and unpack as I go so that I can create a life that's not only worth living but rewarding and enriching. Now I've got to unpack this shit too. So that was a lot to live with. But what's happened is as I've really invested in November, it will be 3 years since she died. And it has been nearly 3 years of getting back up, walking back through the flames of horrific trauma and grief and PTSD every fucking day to rebuild myself. And sometimes, especially in that early period, you are rebuilding yourself every day only to be crushed by the reliving of her death each night as I try and sleep and then have to rebuild myself again. And it felt like Groundhog Day for the longest time. But as I have faced it all and, as I say, walked back through the flames and learned how to live and grieve simultaneously and the realization that I don't need to just survive. I'm allowed to thrive. And what do I want that to look like? And really taking ownership over my journey and my life and appreciating that Riley will forever be a massive part of my life and my story, and her death an exclamation mark in that story. But my life will not be defined, and neither will my girls, by the death of her or her absence. And so it's been this massive investment that I have been enjoying making 100% because it pays off. You can't work as hard and consistently as I have at something and it not pay off. And so I love my life. I do. But what I've found is that as I've grown and I'm expanding and I'm benefiting from all of this, the negative self-talk has grown. It's kind of become louder and probably more malicious. And it's been really quite overwhelming how big that has gotten. And I would say that have become this manifesting magnet, and part of what I'm manifesting is these incredible connections, these amazing people into my life. And one of the connections that I manifested recently was with a young man who's a hypnotist, who is an incredibly knowledgeable, empathetic, wise old soul. And we were talking for hours, talking and talking and talking. And I had said to him how I was struggling with this negative self-talk, and how it had gotten to the point where I wouldn't, if I heard anybody being spoken to the way that it was speaking to me, could not possibly tolerate even sitting within earshot of it without addressing it, and the inappropriateness of anyone being spoken to like that. And I would never speak to anyone the way that this inner critic was talking to me. And the struggle I was having to comprehend how I'm doing all of these good things for myself, and I'm appreciating all of these good aspects of my life, but why is this thing getting bigger and bigger? Like this cancerous growth, it's just decided it's coming with me on this journey. And while we were talking, I said to him that I had realized that people can be confident, and I know that I present as that, but that just because someone is confident, it doesn't mean that they don't struggle with a negative inner critic or self-doubt. And that all the confident people you see out there struggle with self-doubt. And he kind of pulled a face, and I said, well, what was that? And he said, well, that you've just adopted a narrative that allows you to stay small, because the confident people I know aren't out here struggling with self-doubt. And so it was that one of those light bulb moments that I realized that whatever deeper part of me that is so scared of me outgrowing the previous version of myself, and therefore is wired, let's say my subconscious is wired for safety, and because I've come from a place that is less than where I am right now, my nervous system that has been revving the fuck out of it and on overdrive my whole life, because I've spent my whole life feeling as though I'm bracing for impact or getting back up from the last injury, insult or assault. And life has been particularly unkind from when I was little. And so when you can appreciate that nervous system, how it's been running, and what it's like to live in a body and have a soul that is encased in a body that is in fight or flight 100% of the time and has not known peace, to then be achieving this degree of peace, but also growing and expanding and everything. The instinct of my nervous system is sit the fuck down. This is unsafe. This is uncharted territory. Get back over here and sit down and stay small where I feel comfortable, because the discomfort of staying small is more comfortable for my nervous system than the discomfort of growth, because at least it's familiar and it feels certain and an element of control and safety in that control. But I've come to realize that there is certainty and control are illusions. We have very little of those things other than to be able to have certainty that I can control the aspects of me, my mindset, my perceptions, and my reactions. That's where I have safety, certainty, and control. But anything outside of me, I can't control. I can't, not with certainty, and not in a way that absolutely guarantees safety. So I need to be able to bring it back to the basics of what I do and can control, and then release the parts that I can't. And that's where the peace and the life balance and everything that I'm enjoying is coming from. But the way he explained it was that imagine a room where the aircon is working to keep the room cool, and the temperature rises. We're trying to keep it at, say, 21 degrees, and the temperature gets to 23 degrees. The aircon doesn't have to work very hard. Even at 24, it doesn't have to work very hard to keep the room kind of cool and stable. But once you get up towards 28, 29, 30 degrees, that aircon is going to blow like a mofo to just really try and cool that room down. And it was a perfect analogy for me to comprehend why this negative self-talk, why the inner critic felt the need to up its game and really be so nasty, because it was things like I've been doing 2 episodes a week since the birth of the podcast on the 1st of June. And then we had some additional trauma and unexpectedly lost our family dog, who happened to be Riley's dog and the last living connection that we had to my daughter who's deceased. But we lost him in a really traumatic way where a lot of choices were taken away from us to farewell him. And it just shook me, and understandably, but I was in this new layer of grief that compounded my already existing grief and PTSD. But just sad, just walking through the shops, just trying to get stuff done, hoping I wouldn't see anyone that I knew because I was just tears rolling down my face. But at the same time, trying to not get stuck in a hole of anger and resentment at the actions that had led to exacerbating this grief. And so whilst I'm having this experience, of course, I was in no state to be recording a podcast. And so I missed I think 2 podcast episodes. And that negative critic was like, you've done it, you've cooked it, you've failed, you had a good crack at it, just tap out, just pack it all in because you're an epic failure. And it is awful. Who the fuck talks to anybody like that? But this critic was there going, and you didn't even publish your book. Like, maybe you just wrote that as a cathartic experience for your own benefit, and it's never going to print. And it didn't just run with the thing that I'd missed in the episode of the podcast. It decided to just pull everything and attack me hard out. And so I was really struggling with, where is this kind of venom coming from that's talking to me in a way that I wouldn't speak to anyone else, like I mentioned. But when he explained it like aircon, it made sense, because I'm outgrowing the previous version of myself, and I'm doing all of these things that the kid who lived in housing commission, who was dirty and neglected and wasn't going to be this person. And so of course I was. I'm not the sum of my origins. I'm not going to be defined in any form of my life by where I came from, whether that's housing commission as a kid or my trauma of losing my daughter or all of the trauma that came from the beginning through to losing Riley and since. I am so much more than that. And I know I've had this burning thing in me that says you're meant for more. And I don't mean more as in like it needs to be this big fame situation. I mean, I have so much more in me to give than how I'm showing up in life, or where I'm limiting myself, or how I might be holding myself back in ways I don't even realize that I'm doing it. And the beauty for me lately is that I have, like I said, been manifesting these connections into my life of these people who are just innately and intrinsically capable of holding up this mirror that helps me see myself in a way that I haven't before. And the conversations like I had with him that give me light bulb moments to go, hang on a minute, don't take it personally. See it as a win. You're expanding, you're outgrowing the previous version of yourself. This is a sign that you are succeeding. No, it's not a nice thing, but how about we rewrite those stories? How about you take the power back? How about you acknowledge the ways that you're adopting narratives that serve you staying small and serve this negative narrative in taking up residence within your soul in a way that you actually don't want. And so when I started to see that I'm choosing narratives like, even confident people struggle with self-doubt, I'm validating my negative self-talk. I'm telling myself that other people have this shared experience of this, so that makes this experience okay. And if I take a giant step back and go, well, hang on a minute, how about I adopt the narrative that you can be confident and you don't need to second guess yourself because you've got a big heart, good message, and no malicious intent. So let's fucking go. How about you listen to that burning desire in you that said that you're meant for more and that you've got more to offer the world, and you start stepping into the power of knowing your own worth and leveling up, and just be done with all the bullshit that's actually just tying you down. And it's funny because when I think about a hot air balloon, when they get it going and the flame is there and the heat is there and it's the ropes that tether it to the ground that stop it from going, it's not that it can't go, it's that it's being held down, because as soon as you let those ropes or the weights go, everything that it needs in order to elevate itself beyond the fucking clouds is already within it. It doesn't need then to be pushed up into the sky. It just needs to decide what things it's going to keep in its basket that are actually weighing it down and what doesn't serve it anymore in order to get off the ground. And that's where I feel like I am. I feel like these connections, these conversations, I met a beautiful woman who does brain mapping. And I didn't really know a lot about it before, but essentially she put a little, not a helmet, but an EEG, so leads onto my head to read my brainwaves, and read them for about 5 or 6 minutes with my eyes open and focusing on a point ahead of me, and then with my eyes closed. And what this brief trace of my brain showed her was all of this stuff where she could communicate to me things like why I would struggle to sleep, why medications wouldn't work for a brain like mine, or why I might struggle with overthinking certain things. And so she's given me this snapshot of my brain that explained away certain things, but also gave me this empathy and compassion for why I do things the way I do, why I might struggle, and why willpower isn't necessarily enough. And it was this, even in the first appointment with her, just to have that deeper understanding of what's happening inside, and then be able to appreciate, because what she could see is that there were ways that my brain was wired and working that were based on trauma, because my life has been filled with it. I'm not surprised. But the beauty of it was that while she could show me all of this, she said, I can also see from the way that your brain waves occur that your brain is intelligent enough to be rewired and retrained with ease. And so this is exciting for me, she said, because we have these appointments. I've had one since, that we will keep going, that will help me rewire the parts of my brain that are acting and behaving and reacting in ways that no longer serve me, because I'm not the sum of my origins, and I'm trying to not act like I am in ways that I don't even know that I'm doing, but is self-sabotaging. And so she's another person that I believe that I manifested into my life at the perfect timing, and it's just incredible already. She is based on the Gold Coast. If it's somebody that you would be interested in seeing, please reach out, because I'm happy to pass on her details. But I intend on having her on the podcast in season 2 as one of the guests, because I just want to get it out there. More awareness of the ways that we can pull the curtain back and do things that aren't your first line traditional medicine wants to drug us, wants to, scan us or do whatever. And when they don't find anything big and nasty, they go, oh, you're fine. And it's like, well, am I fine? Because I don't want to be fine. I want to be amazing. I want to be reaching my full potential and getting out of my own way. And I think the first line traditional medicine doesn't do that for us. And so we can kind of struggle in ways that we don't really have to. And it's a matter of who you know, because when you start creating these connections and you find that there's more things available, and I love the aspect of lifelong learning that facilitates me always being in a state of, I don't know what I don't know. Let's go find out some more, and I'm really enjoying it. So very much loving the connections that are happening in my life. I already have more peace with where I'm headed, the transformation I'm in the thick of. And even when I started to see the brain mapping lady, I said to her, I feel the way that I imagine the caterpillar does when the cocoon is about to break and it's about to realize it's a beautiful butterfly with wings. But right now it feels like it's destruction. It's convinced that that cocoon is going to absolutely destroy it. And the pressure that it takes for that cocoon to break actually feels a lot like destruction. That's what I would say, where I would say I feel that I'm at, because I feel like this is the destruction of me. And this was a few weeks ago, back around the time we lost Bodhi, and things were happening in my life that were just seemingly adding to my trauma. But again, sometimes we get to be a little bit down the road and we can look back with so much appreciation for the ways that life has gifted us amazing things, rather than be in the thick of it and feel just the hurt and sometimes we let that lead to resentment. But really, if we can avoid the anger and resentment and try and lean into the experience and see, what do I need, maybe from outside of myself, support-wise at this point in my life, to be able to not fall into a hole of anger and resentment, then I'm going to find myself down the track, looking back, able to appreciate aspects. I love that we have Bodhi in our life. I love that we had him to love, even in the aftermath of losing Riley. And if Riley needed him in the afterlife, then I'm okay with the absence of him. And the reality is, he was here for a season. It wasn't for us to dictate or determine that season. So I can now navigate it with peace. It was the additional trauma that I was struggling with at the time, but a lot has been happening. And obviously I'm not failing because I missed an episode or two of the podcast, because the reality is I'm the one who said it would be twice a week. It's me. It's not anybody else putting that pressure on me. And I had been sitting with the unrest of having to evaluate moving forward as my business grows. And I am looking at all of the work that then goes in behind the scenes to get this book off the ground, and wanting to travel more and still be very present with my girls. And then in the future, when I find myself in a relationship and I'm in that honeymoon period, how much of this aligns with the pressure of having to do 2 episodes a week? And so I had come to the conclusion that I absolutely needed to do 2 a week to start off with, because I had too much to say. I had all of these episodes already rattling around in my head. And so moving forward into season 2, it will be 1 episode a week and a lot like this. And then I will be hosting guests as well. So I look forward to that. If you know somebody who aligns with the kind of thing that I talk about, who you think would have a powerful message or be an appropriate guest, then don't hesitate to put them in touch. They can follow me, reach out on Instagram at @eslanaloa. So yes, as I move forward through this recent turmoil, but enjoy the connections that have been happening at the same time, what's happened is I've found that the negative self-talk has pretty much dissipated as I've stepped into the power. Yes, I've started treatments like the brain mapping, and I've spent a good amount of time with the hypnotist, actually just kind of counseling each other and bouncing off each other, which has been incredibly beneficial to get different perspectives on my struggles, and then making the conscious choice to level up. I did a post with regards to my business because I appreciate now that have struggled with self-worth. I have, in a way that has negatively affected my business, because I don't value myself, so I don't believe that others do. So I would be constantly devaluing myself by way of offering specials for my business. And so I did a post acknowledging this and saying that in the next coming 6 weeks, there would be specials on offer, and after that, there just wouldn't be, because I'm leveling up and I am valuing myself. Because what had happened amongst all of this is, and the beautiful connections that I've made, is I started to evaluate that there's no person or business or service provider where I genuinely respect their services or products that I then expect a cheaper price. I 100%, and even when it's offered, I found that I had recently responded by saying, thank you, I appreciate it, but I value this and I see the hard work that's gone into building your business, and I want you to be remunerated accordingly. I don't need to devalue you on price. And so I'm gifting myself the ability to view myself through that same lens and value myself accordingly. And so there is absolutely a sense of transformation happening. And all of this stuff led me to decide to close out this season of the podcast as season 1 and take Bali as a break, because the last time I went to Bali, I took my mic, I took my computer, I was diligent, I was recording and editing and still continuing with it. But I think that given we're going for my daughter's 16th birthday, it's appropriate that it's just a downtime, being really present and making the most of it. So I'll have the 2 weeks away, and then I'll be back at it with season 2. And I don't know what that season of my life looks like. I know I'll be all guns blazing, trying to get an editor and book cover and everything done for the book to be able to launch it in the coming months. But apart from that, I'm leaning into the unknown. I'm very much made this part of my life about letting go of the wheel, because I realize that I've kind of been white knuckling the fuck out of the wheel of life, thinking that that does give me a sense of safety, certainty, or control, and it doesn't. None of those. And so what I can do is act with intention and be intentional, but then release my hands from the wheel of life and know that because I've been manifesting like a motherfucker, I don't have to cling to the wheel of life. My ego isn't the one that needs to know if I want to get here or have this or that in my life, then I need to understand the A, B, and C of it. I don't. I need to keep manifesting, act with intention, let go of the wheel, and enjoy the ride, because the more that I do that, the more that I absolutely fucking love my life and am enjoying the ride. So I very much appreciate you being here too, because it's easy for this to be a bit of a lonely, seemingly one-sided experience of the podcast, in that I had a male friend say to me the other day, I listened to the first episode of your podcast, it was great. But then he commented and said, oh yeah, it was just like you talking to yourself for 40 minutes. And I said, I wasn't talking to myself, I was talking to you. And I absolutely am talking to you, whoever you are, wherever you are. And the cool thing is that in the last, what's it been, nearly 3 months, this podcast has been listened to in, I think, over 22 countries. And that's amazing. It blows my mind. But I don't really, other than some statistics like that or the number of downloads, I don't really get to see or appreciate how far it's going or who's listening or who's being impacted by this. And I think a part of the negative self-talk is that you're doing this, you're sharing your experience, but you're doing it in, yes, a cathartic way for me, but in a way that doesn't reflect back to you whether it's making any impact at all. And in the last little while, like obviously there's been amazing reviews left on Apple Podcasts. I can't see the reviews. I see the 5 stars on Spotify, but the beautiful things written by people in the reviews, which is so nice and so encouraging. And that really gave me that second wind halfway through the experience so far. But I've had a number of people reach out to me and message and voice the impact that it's making on their grief journey or their life journey or their whatever it is. And I tell you what, if you think something about someone or you're grateful for something or you recognize a positive, just say it, because you have no idea how much that person may need to hear it. I make it a thing for me and my girls that I do it all the time anyway, but I had said to the girls, you know what, I want you to tell me every day when I pick you up who you met today that's new that you didn't know before, as in introduce yourself, talk to somebody that you didn't, life, and this goes for adults too, life presents us with so many opportunities for connection, so many opportunities to meet somebody new. How many times I went into the bakery, I know I spoke about this in a previous episode, but I pulled in unexpectedly to an area I wouldn't go to normally, and the man in there was a fucking vibe. He was so lovely and outgoing and just a vibe. And I could have easily just been like everyone else in the bakery, paid for my stuff and left. But I just thought, no, I want to know your name and I want to know you because you're making a positive impact on my day just by me being in the same room as you. And it was such an incredible connection and a lot of things that then spurred on from there because of that connection. But we have all of these opportunities and we can sit here and say, I don't have a circle in life, or I don't have a friend group, or I don't have this, that, or the other. I wish I had more quality people in my life. Start being one, because every day hands you numerous opportunities to just introduce yourself. I'm Eslana. And people have been saying to me recently, oh, but you're so good at it. You're so confident. Well, I wasn't. I just do it. And even somebody had said to me today, you look so nice in that. It was a gym outfit that I had bought, and I was not going to wear it because I was not feeling myself, and I almost got changed. And she said, geez, you must have been just feeling amazing because you look so beautiful today. And I said to her, quite the opposite. I nearly got changed at home and I wasn't going to leave the house in this because I was in my head about how I looked. And it gave both of us the opportunity to reflect on how somebody carrying themselves confidently or, being confident enough to introduce themselves just seems like, oh, they're just a natural at that, or they don't struggle with the self-doubt, or they don't whatever. And it gave her the appreciation of how much weight a compliment can carry for somebody, because you don't know how much they might benefit or need that. And me, how much appreciation for myself that I can get if I look at myself through the lens I look at others. Because I said to her, I never look at another girl in the gym and think, oh, is that cellulite at the top of her thigh? I think, look how great her ass looks in that outfit, or look how beautiful she looks in that color. And then we don't gift ourselves the same. And so it gave me an opportunity to be kinder to myself. And so she opened the door for me to choose kindness towards myself by offering me that kindness. And she could easily have just bit her tongue and said nothing. And so my encouragement is to pay the compliment, because you have no idea how much someone needs it. So I told my girls, I want to hear every day about who you've met that's new. And Mia in particular is my spirit animal. She makes friends with all the kids of all the ages at school. She's the one that will go up and introduce herself just because she made eye contact, and and slightly less, but it's been so beneficial for both of them because it gives Mia an appreciation for her confidence and how she shows up, and is making her more consciously aware of making that investment and drawing more people into her life and making connections. But it's given Zalia kind of second wind as far as a little bit of confidence. I met this person today, and she's owning the wins of putting herself outside of her comfort zone. And again, the assumption by other people that, oh, you're just so good at it, you're just always confident, doesn't mean that I was. I put myself in the uncomfortable in order to poker face my nervous system and then go, see, nothing bad happened. Everything is fine. And now I have a new friend. And so we've definitely been enjoying the connections that have resulted. But the second thing that I asked them to do was pay a compliment. I want to hear at the end of the day who you paid a compliment to. And it's been training their brain to do what I do instinctively. And that is just make someone's day. Tell them. And I don't mean go out of your way to piss in their pocket and lie to them about something that isn't. They're going to know if you're being insincere. But how many times I'll walk past a girl who looks so beautiful in that colour, and I tell her, and she might have been the person that's sitting at home struggling, thinking about changing because she didn't think that looked any good on her, and then you just make her day. Or somebody, whatever it is, there's no shortage. There's no shortage of opportunities for you to acknowledge the good or the hard work that's paying off for somebody, whether it's their body or their business or their life, whatever it is. There is no shortage of opportunities, as I always say, of things to be grateful for. You start pulling that string, you'll never find the end, but there's still you cannot go about your day and not come across somebody that you could pay a compliment to. And I promise you, it probably, like I said, carries so much more weight than you would even know, and could be something that they need so much more than you will ever know. But I know this firsthand because when was it? Last year, I had returned to the hospital setting and was working in midwifery, and I had a less than optimal experience, to say the least. I am very good at what I do. I'm very passionate and I give it my all. I can't do anything but that. But when you're a light in a dark place, it can be more of a tendency of others to pour water on that light rather than fan the flame. And nursing and midwifery is unfortunately known in this country for the foundation of bullying. And they say nurses and midwives eat their young. I'm by no means young in years or in my career, but bullying is real and it was horrific. And this was at the hands of people who knew what I had been through too with losing Riley. So I had a horrific experience at the hands of others in the healthcare system that grossly contributed to the decisions that I then made to walk away from my career in my grief. And I had to go through a whole grieving process to let go of a part of my life that I perceived to have was supposed to be something that was a part of my life across the lifespan. And not to mention the fact that going from nursing to midwifery was a whole nother degree. So I've done 2 full degrees at uni to do this, and to be walking away from it because I was choosing peace. And it wasn't an easy decision. It was one of the hardest of my life and definitely brought an extra layer of grief with it. But I was going through the thick of it when somebody reached out to me on Facebook and sent me this massive message saying, I don't know if you remember me, you looked after me 8 months ago in the hospital. And it was the most beautiful, heartfelt, genuine, sincere post of gratitude for how I had impacted their journey, how I had helped her and her husband reframe or choose the lens through which they viewed their birth with the unexpected complications that arose because she had been feeling like a failure when it ended in emergency cesarean. And she said, I don't know if you remember me. Of course I remember her. But she said, you came in and you just helped me view it in a different light and celebrate myself and own my wins. You changed our lives in that experience. And she said, and you also helped me get my baby feeding. And I'm so proud to say that 8 months later, she feeds like a champion, and all of this gratitude. And I sat barely able to read this message through tears because the unkindness of others had me second-guessing myself and really just in the thick of the grief associated with having to let this part of my career go. And it was something that like I said to this woman, you have no idea how much I needed to hear that. And similar things have happened since starting the podcast, where people have sent me messages saying, your podcast has saved me, and like I said, this can be a really lonely, one-sided experience where I'm talking to you, but I'm just sitting here essentially talking to my computer and then uploading it and hoping that somebody somewhere benefits from something that I've said, because I have a big heart, a good message, and no malicious intent. So surely there's somebody that will benefit from this. But until it comes back to you, you're kind of just hoping, and it's these messages that have come through. And then I had a woman book recently for brow tattoo who, when she came, she said to me, and I know she won't mind me sharing this, that she's been through the ringer health-wise. She's had some terrible stuff in her life happen. And her sister, who's a midwife I used to work with, kept gently nudging her towards my podcast and encouraging her to listen to it. And she finally did. And she said, I have listened for 3 weeks straight, every single day, to your 21, 20, whatever episodes as I drive to work. And she said it has literally just had the most incredible impact on her. And I'm sitting there, and this is in the thick of me struggling with this dark, nasty self-talk and second-guessing myself and feeling like a failure. And she's sitting there telling me how much it's impacted her life and how just this incredible conversation. And when I explained to her that I've struggled with self-doubt and this negative self-talk, she was just horrified. Like, what? You're this powerhouse who speaks so confidently and has this incredible message, and then you're sitting over here not understanding the full impact that you're having. And of course I don't, because I'm sitting in my studio recording a podcast and I don't see it. But to have these interactions coming back to me in the form of a message or a face-to-face client like that is so beautifully rewarding, healing, and cathartic to go, I keep talking about how we're having this shared experience. And to choose kindness, but I don't always feel the shared experience. I feel like I'm having a fucked experience that I'm able to make good out of and share alone to a microphone. But to know that it has positively impacted anyone is amazing, and I'm grateful for that. So my point is, sorry for waffling, that you never know how far your kind words or your genuine compliment or your sincere gratitude will go in somebody's journey, because I guarantee that you will very rarely understand the true depth of somebody's battles, because we don't always wear our scars or our struggles where people can see them. And sometimes in the glimpses we have into somebody's life, or behind the curtain, or the briefness of an interaction we have with someone, we see possibly what they want us to see, possibly what we want to see, but never the full picture. And so I would, as somebody who has been on the receiving end, and I mention these messages and these interactions in order to give weight to that, as somebody on the receiving end who has benefited so much, it has given me a second wind. It has helped me start to value myself. It has helped me dim and minimize that negative self-talk as I step into this transformative period of my life where I know I'm leveling up. I know that I'm going to leave that shit behind, and that this season of the episode was supposed to be season 1, because it's been a fucking season of my life. A lot has happened, a lot has taken place, but it's okay to now turn the page, because I don't know what the future holds, but I know I'm excited for it. And I know that even the struggles that will inevitably come in life, I've got everything I need within me, like a hot air balloon, to rise from the ashes. And I feel like I thought I was rising from the ashes of my grief and trauma, but in reality, all I've done is just get my footing, and now we rise. So I'm very excited to bring the shared experience that is whatever is to come into season 2 of this podcast. And so I would encourage you, start introducing yourself to one person each day. Get their name, help them feel seen. It helps you feel seen and appreciated and opens up the door for connection that you otherwise would have missed out on, and can actually end up being some of the most incredible connections you'll have in your life. I'd put money on it. And then pay compliments. Even if it's you walk past someone and their hair looks really nice, tell them. Because for all you know, that's like a game changer for whatever it is they're struggling with their own self-image. Give it genuinely. It's so rewarding. I love it. I do it every single day, multiple times a day. And I just say, I just want to make your days. Like, I just want to tell you that you look amazing or whatever it is. And it's so rewarding because you see people kind of stand up straight and be like, oh my God, thank you so much. Because people aren't used to hearing other people show that appreciation or hold the mirror up to them to say, hey, I hope you slow your roll and appreciate how far you've come with this, that, or the other thing. Because look at you, look at what you're achieving, or whatever it is. It could be as simple as that color looks beautiful on you. It's so easy to make someone's day. And what it does for you is, in the same way that they start to put their shoulders back and say, thank you so much, it kind of helps you put your shoulders back. And it definitely makes your day more enjoyable and your body a kinder place to exist, because it releases oxytocin and makes you feel more loved, because it's an act of love, I believe, self-love, to be able to offer that appreciation to someone outside of yourself. So yes, I wanted to share all of that. But as I close out this season 1 of Why Mindset Matters, I just want to take a moment to say the sincerest thank you to everyone. Thank you for showing up, for listening, for sitting with me in the rawness of grief and in the beauty of growth, because this podcast has been more than a project. It's been living, breathing part of my healing and transformation. And the fact that you've chosen to be here with me, whether it's this episode or every episode, means more to me than I could ever put into words. And if there's one thing that I want you to carry with you after this season, it's that your words matter. The stories that we tell ourselves shape our life. And when we choose to rewrite that negative self-talk, like I said I'm doing, then we choose to speak life, and over ourselves, over our dreams, over the people that we love, the people that we have in our life. We open up the door for things that we never thought was possible. And I'm loving that that's where I'm at. I love that I'm closing out this season in that doorway of transformation, and I'm excited to come back with season 2 and all that it brings. As I step into the next couple of weeks of reset and transformation, I'm preparing for the unknown with excitement and gratitude, because I know that the next chapter, with the release of my book and everything else that's to come, is going to be incredible. And I'm so excited for everything that it means I'm going to bring back into season 2 of this podcast and to be able to share with you guys. So my invitation to you as we wrap up season 1 is this. I want you to rewrite your self-talk. I want you to speak life into yourself, into others, and remember that your mindset always, always matters. More than we know, more than we give weight to, but choose life, manifest like a mofo, and bring that main character energy. As always, thank you so much for being here and listening to this episode. I am Eslana Loa. You can follow me on Instagram at Eslana Loa. I will see you in season 2. But until then, take care of yourself and listen to the other episodes so you're all caught up. I'll see you guys soon.